Hello, Reagan here. Okay, so this week I'm going to show you what I've been working on. I took a class at the Office of Collecting here in Las Vegas, which is a wonderful place. I love that place. I could live there. I don't think I really could, but I would love to live there. Anyway, okay. There's going to be a lot of weird like color shift and stuff because I've got reflective stuff on here, and I apologize for that. I'm using a Windows computer for the first time in like 5, 8, 10 years. I don't know, something like that. So bear with me here. My apologies if the quality is questionable. But we were doing cyanotypes. Cyanotypes, you take the potassium ferrocyanide. Yes, I said cyanide. And ferric ammonium citrate. And you mix them together. These are from, actually I got these on Amazon, and it's really affordable. They're Jacquard brand. And they come and they've got powder in them when you get them. And you just take and fill up the bottle with water. I used distilled water. Just because my tap water is really sketchy around here. So anyway, but you fill up each bottle, you shake them really well, make sure that they're well agitated and all the mix is all mixed in really good. And then you let them set for 24 hours. And after you've let them set for 24 hours, you take yourself a sponge brush. You can take, oh, that one's covered in cat hair. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Anyway, you take a sponge brush and you sponge it all over some watercolor paper. You know, somewhat sparingly. You just want to make sure you got a nice even coat. Don't leave like pools of it on there or anything. And then let that dry. And you do that in a low light or no light situation, a dark room if you have it. And what I did is I went in my back bathroom and just like closed the door and turned off the light, and then went on YouTube and found a 10 hours of solid red screen and set my phone up on the shelf away from where I was actually working and used that for enough ambient light. I'm basically a vampire mole rat, so no light is perfectly okay with me. Anyway, but I put that in a dark spot, let it dry. And then once it's dried, you gather your items and whatever, and you put on top of your paper and you expose it to light. And then after you're done with that, you rinse it, let it dry, and then you have your print. Okay, so there's also other things you can do. One of those things you can do is you can take transparency film and you can print a picture on it. And basically you just go in. I did it in Photoshop because I have like the Creative Cloud Suite or whatever, but you can do it in any photo editing software that offers you the ability to shift it. You can like create a negative by just reversing it. I switched mine over to black and white, bumped up the contrast, reversed it to where it was a negative, and then printed it on a transparency. And I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, okay. So, and then by the way, when you do this, little PSA, give me a second. This can be loud. Okay. So when I got the transparency paper, I read the instructions, and I'm one of those people that I always read all the instructions and try to follow everything to the letter because, you know, I want to do it right. And some of these things are a little pricey, and I don't want to spend money that I don't have, you know, because of stupid mistakes. You know what I'm saying? So on here, there are instructions, and it says, you know, which way to put the paper to print it. It's like, okay, I got this. And I followed all the instructions, and I did the thing, and it was wrong. So it says very clearly on here, it says there are two sides to transparency film. All sheets are packaged face up. Therefore, you should print onto the side facing the front of the provided packaging face up. We recommend keeping the sheets in order and the color product label on top. This will help avoid printing on the wrong side. That's the colored product label. That's not the top. It has a little bit of a curve to it. Just it naturally curves, right? This is actually the back. So this is the part that does not have the transparency paper has an emulsion on it that holds the ink when you print on it. This is not the side with that. It's the side that curls in that has that. So needless to say, I got a couple of pieces of transparency paper that I just went ahead and threw in some water and soaked off all of the emulsion so that I can use them for window panes in a dollhouse diorama or something like that. Anyway, but this is the transparency film that I bought. And I went in, like I said, I went in Photoshop and just turned it into a negative. And there are tons of tutorials on how to do that. And there's apps and stuff to do it really quickly and easily. But this was my first print. Yeah, I printed on the wrong side. So the first thing I did when it came off the printer, I saw, because all the ink was like bubbled up. You know, it wasn't like it wasn't dry. It was literally, you know, like just not dry, but bubbled up sitting on the surface. Like, hadn't absorbed it all. So I knew I did it wrong. So what I did is I took a piece of tissue paper and I laid it on top and I gently went like this, and all of the ink soaked onto my tissue paper. So now I have this really cool tissue paper relief of the negative that I was making for, but anyway, yeah, so that didn't work so well. And then, but I finally, after a little bit of realizing I was doing it wrong, got it right. And this is the side that's actually printed on, is the curled inside. And my negative is right there. So here, I'll put it on just a plain piece of tissue paper so you can see it. And it's well, without all this other stuff underneath. It's this beautiful, crisp negative. It comes out really nicely. I just have like a Canon middle of the road printer, you know, nothing fancy. Yeah, so once you get your negative, then you can, you know, go through the rest of the steps. But that's how I got my negative. I'm not going to sit here and wrestle with that while I try to get to the next part. So we're just going to set that over there. Okay, don't fall. It's going to fall. It's fine. This is the paper, well, the brand that was suggested. And the thing that is special about this paper, and the reason why it's so good for doing this, is because it is 100% pure cotton. Okay, so that means, and it's 140 pounds, so it's 300 GM. So basically what that means is you can put this in the water, you can get it wet. It doesn't disintegrate in water like a tree pulp paper would. Okay, like actual paper would. This stuff can take the water and not fall apart. Okay, so it's very, very good for this because you don't have to worry about like putting it in your tray to wash it and ending up with, you know, like a raccoon with a sugar cube. Okay. So that's what that's for. Anyway, all that fun aside, I had some cheap paper running around here that was just some no-name watercolor paper, and it's paper. So it did start to like disintegrate. It was really bad, but I did manage to salvage the print either way. I took this paper and I did the thing, and then I laid like this piece of lace on it, and then I had some, hang on. I had some crystals and stuff that I took out and laid on it, and tried that to see just what would or wouldn't let the light through. You know what I mean? I had no idea. Like I wasn't sure what would and wouldn't. So, and once I got that together, I took one of these guys, which is a UV flashlight, which I use for when I 3D print and for my like UV resin projects. I have like this little mold for like keychains and stuff or whatever, and a couple other ones and stuff like that. Anyway, but I use that for that. So I already had it laying around. I use that to expose this, and as you can tell, I was just doing this, which means the edges didn't get any exposure. It also means that the parts that weren't touched, because I didn't push this down with a sheet of glass, I just laid it on there. The parts that we're touching are very clear and in focus, and then the parts that were raised up are not because of the movement of the flashlight. But I did that until I was tired of doing it. I didn't time myself. I just was like, let's see if this works, because I didn't even know if the paper was going to hold the cyanotype chemicals. And yeah, that's what I got out of that. So that worked out pretty well. My next experiment, if you notice, is much yellower than that. When I rinsed this one, I was trying to be very careful with it, especially because, like I said, I knew the paper was going to disintegrate. So I gently rinsed it in a tub, which I don't have. I set some stuff in it, so it's over on the other. I said I'm rearranging my house, so everything's trashed. But I set it in a little plastic tub and kind of did that in distilled water. And distilled water gave me very clear results, very whites, and turned out pretty good. This one I tried using tap water, and apparently our tap water is even grosser than I thought it was, because that's what I ended up with. So, but that's okay. I kind of like the fact that it's got that weird color shift quality to it. So I'm not unhappy with it, but I really like those crisp whites, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm also thinking about taking and doing maybe making some more of these, this style, probably smaller, and doing some watercolor over top of it, because I think that'd be really cool to make some, I have some really pretty ink too. I have some jade iridescent ink that I've been looking for excuse to use. I think this would be a cool excuse to use it. Anyway, but I did that the same way. This is on the Arches paper though, and it's much more stiff and sturdy, and yeah. But if you notice, there was a point where I sat my flashlight down, so you can see the marks from the light bulbs in the flashlight, because I just sat it down, scratched my hand or something. So I sat there for just a second and left that burn in. But these were 2 peacock feathers, and I left them for a few minutes, did the thing, and then I moved them a little bit and exposed them a little bit longer. Each one, see, I sat the flashlight down on the head of that one too. You can see it. My apologies, Beans is rearranging the house right now. She's playing with the cardboard box. Anyway, but yeah, so that was a fun little experiment. And like I said, I like to use this, do these as a basis for more stuff, for watercolors and things like that. I like that idea and the way that looks. But here we are down to this one. This was the final print. I cut it down some because the edges were a little rough, and I was like, whatever. But this is the one that I made the negative for, and I don't know what happened here. When I went to rinse it, that just came off. So I think maybe when I was putting the chemicals on the paper initially, I put it on too heavy. And because what happens is when I dry it, it'll kind of get flaky, and that's what that looks like. It looks like it flaked off there, it was just a little bit too thick, and it caused problems. But I love the way this turned out. I think it turned out amazing. I really like everything about it. And I did the same thing. I put a piece of glass over it while I exposed it. I did, of course, bump it, so there's some of it that's not in focus, but the ball is really sharp. And then I was at first I was a little upset because that happened, but I actually like the way that looks. I like the way it turned out overall, despite that. So I was very happy with the whole process and the way that things came out. And I have plenty more paper and plenty more chemicals to make more, so I will be doing that very soon, and I'll have those to share with you. But I wanted to pop on here and at least share something with you, since it's been a little while, and I will see you next time. Bye.